Hello, welcome to Orphan Espresso. I'm Doug,
I'm Barb.
and this is a technical update for the auger spring. We've had some reports that the spring, in some extreme cases, has broken, and others that it has deformation of the spring where it's attached on the burr end of the axle. Okay, this spring, as you see here, this is the spring we use in place of the flights of the auger. The auger has the body and then it has the flights. And we use the spring because it's a very simple way to wrap the flights, and also it can be wrapped both right-handed and left-handed. This is the part that we use. This is the burr end, which has a large loop. It has a primary section of small wraps that goes into a 6.5 millimeter body and a small loop on the other end. Okay. Basically, what this upgrade, and it turned out to be a quite simple solution to this problem. The problem was that in our initial installation, the large loop, we put it under the screw head, and we tightened the screw all the way down because we didn't want it to loosen. It made sense. So here we have, there's one screw in this side that screws through the burr carrier into the axle. There's a second screw on the other side that holds the spring. As I said, our original installation was this spring was locked into place by tightening the screw head all the way down against it. In consultation with our spring supplier, who knows more about springs than I probably will ever imagine, but he lives in a world of springs, and he advised us that it was the tightening of the screw all the way down that was immobilizing the end of the spring, and when the beans pushed against it, it was unable to move like in this application. So by allowing a swivel and a pivot, the spring could operate like a spring should. It flexes instead of pushes against here, work hardening this wire that's a stainless steel wire, work hardening it, and eventually snapping the spring. So as I said, we have some deformations and we've had some breakage. There is an option of making a heavier wire spring, but it is extremely difficult to deal with because you reach the point where it's almost like a solid rod. And it's difficult to install. It's also halfway dangerous because it's so heavily coiled. Okay, that said, basically we go from 2 8mm screws to 2 10mm screws and solve the problem. You can see this is our goal here. We want movement of the loop on this screw. Okay, you see that? This is what we're going to end up with. We're going to end up with both of the screws completely tightened down, but a gap down here that allows the spring to swivel. And that solves the problem. From a practical standpoint, we've taken the grinder apart as we've shown in various videos of cleaning and disassembly, alignment, etc. This involves no alignment, but when I do this, the first thing I do is come in with my 2.5mm. I hold the spring right there. See, I got my fingers on the spring so it doesn't fly away. And back out this screw. That's the top screw. This is not the critical part. See, that's snapped down. Okay, so now that's loose. I've removed the 3 screws that hold the inner frame in place in order to save time, and I come back here and I remove the back screw, okay? And this drops out the mechanism, okay? Take this off, it's easier to work with. Now, what I've got is set this down on the finest setting. So now the screws are both accessible directly from above with a regular hex. Okay? Now I'm going to take the one opposite the spring and loosen it a little bit. Okay. This one's still here. What I'm going to do, the mechanism is held in place. It's under tension from the tensioning system back here in the back, so it's still under tension, but I can take that 8mm screw out and I can install this 10mm screw in the same position, straight down, just like that. Okay, see, it won't tighten all the way down. Now I loosen this. This is as much as anything for
So you set the grinder on fine,
so I can,
remove the 8mm screw opposite the spring, put the 10mm in, then go to the spring side and loosen, back that one out.
this is basically so I don't,
Tighten.
it's so I don't have to take it all apart.
Right.
So
Then
I'm skipping.
tighten the,
That's tight all the way.
okay, so that's you've now replaced that 10mm screw.
I replaced the
and tightened
8
it,
with a 10.
And
Okay.
we've tightened it all the way down.
Now I come over here and I remove this 8mm screw. Okay, I dump that out, set it aside so I don't confuse them. Now I replace the 8mm screw, this side of the loop, okay, and I replace, you have a complete vertical access in this situation. Now I'll lift that up so you can see it. Okay, I tighten it all the way down so it's good and tight. See?
But that gap allows the spring to move.
It allows the swivel. Okay? This solves the problem of distorting the loop on the end. And it also prevents the work hardening of the stainless steel wire, so it no longer distorts and it no longer breaks. We've showed the installation. We've showed the installation of the spring in some other places. So basically, reassembly is as we've shown before. You put the screws in, you tighten it up, you wrap the screw, drive in your original, this is a 12mm screw, drive that into the position, and problem solved. These 10mm are standard. They're M4 by 10 is what we're using. We can send you some if you need them. Just email and we'll get them to you. If you have any deformation or distortion down at the on the loop end and you're concerned, we have that upgrade as well. It turned out to be a very simple solution to what was a
problem.
head-scratching problem. Yeah. So thanks to the Spring Man and thanks to you, I hope this helps.